This past weekend, we hosted a field event here at the Proving Grounds. Folks came from Canada, Texas, and most states in between. We had a great time sharing about our food plot techniques, hunting strategies, and many other subjects.
So I just want to share some general thoughts.
Compare it to like stepping on a rotten log.
So when we analyze it, it's going to be strictly soil.
Soil that any ag farmer would be proud of.
But it has other stuff too that'll help you.
Eagle seed soybeans.
We kicked off the event Friday afternoon with Jeff Hagan from Walters Ag talking about advanced soil testing and soil management techniques.
So the biggest number one thing, some of you don't have the luxury as far as, the rocky conditions of pulling soil samples. But if you've got an established food plot that you're going to be pulling soil samples in, remember 4 inches deep is as deep as you need to go.
What about the plants that are there? You've got to pull those out?
No, sir. That's a very good question. No. The first thing people typically want to do is take a pocket knife or something and cough at the top to ensure it's not in the bag. When it gets to the lab, we're actually going to dry that sample out and we're going to put it in a grinder and we're going to sift it out. So any rock, any residue, any plant material there is going to come out. So when we analyze it, it's going to be strictly soil.
What about wet or dry? Does it matter?
Yes, sir, it does. Wet or dry is not it's too wet or too dry. If you've got a situation where you have to take a rubber mallet and drive that in the ground, it's too dry. The key is getting a good core. Same way as far as being too wet. You can, if you put that in the ground 6 inches, if you got some work ground, you put that in the ground 6 inches, and you come out and there's more water running out of it than there is soil, it's too wet. Just make sure you get a good core.
Even using the Buffalo system, where we haven't needed to add any lime or fertilizer for several years in most of our plots, I still take soil samples annually for testing to make sure that nutrient level is appropriate to produce quality forage. After this session, the Growing Deer Prostaff members hosted a bow shoot. We had some real targets set up and everyone had a blast.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Reconyx, Trophy Rock, Eagle Seed, Nikon, Winchester, Lacrosse Footwear, Flatwood Natives, Morel Targets, Caldwell Shooting Supplies, Hooks Custom Calls, Montana Decoys, Summit Tree Stands, Drake Non-Typical Clothing, RTP Outdoors, Yamaha, Fourth Arrow, Scent Crusher, Mossy Oak Properties of the Heartland, Motorola Lighting Solutions, Scorpion Venom Archery, Code Blue, Decode, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
I enjoyed meeting everyone and spending time visiting with our guests. Many of them brought maps so Daniel or I could spend some time helping them develop a habitat and hunting strategy plan. The next morning proved cold and rainy, but didn't slow us down. We met in our shop and had some donuts and hot coffee. Because of the weather, we remained in the shop and my friend Clint Carey from Tactical Trapping Solutions shared some of his advanced coyote trapping techniques.
It's how do I prepare my traps? How do I treat my traps? And I'm going to tell you, like I told the guy yesterday, I treat them real roughly. But this has just been spray painted, Rust-Oleum spray paint. But literally, most of mine, when I'm out in the field, I'm hitting them with this, getting, that old red rust off, and then I'm putting them in the ground. Brand new traps. When I'll call Bill Duke, send me a dozen, whatever. He sends them to me. I open the box, leave them in the back of my truck. When I get ready for them, they go in the ground. That's it. Once they start getting a little bit of a good rust coating, then I'll spray paint them kind of as we go. Giving that a little bit of pan tension is what I'm calling how much poundage it takes to push down on this pan before it fires, okay? This is a hair trigger. If I touch it like this, you're gonna get caught. It's gonna fire. What you want, I compare it to like stepping on a rotten log. You kind of give it a little test before you step over it. It feels pretty good. Then you put your weight down. If the log breaks, once you do that, you're gone. Just like that. You fall down through it, okay? But if it breaks while you're doing that little test step, then you kind of back out. What you want is that coyote committing. He puts his foot down with all that weight, and boom, okay? There's no backing out. Even 2 pounds of tension, 3 pounds, whatever you want to run, A lot of that changes with the amount of dirt you put on top of it. Just what you don't want is zero pan tension. You want it to have some pan tension before it fires. Baiting and luring to me is much more important than the type of set, okay? This is a gland lure. A gland lure works on territorial instincts. It's a food-based lure and allow what's called a call lure. I'm gonna show you a secret that's never been shown before. Never. This stuff right here, I mean, and I use commercial bait too, but I am a dog food user and it makes perfect sense. I mean, he is a dog. Baits work good. Lures are great, but we've done a lot of video testing because, I mean, this is how we make a living. Coyotes spend, lure sets only, we see them spending a minute to 2 minutes will be a long time at a lure only set. Lure has a job to stop that coyote, cause interest, because literally we've had coyotes staying at different baits for 30 to 40 minutes, okay? That's a lot more foot movement. Bait will up your odds, okay? Using 2 different lures, 2 different holes, little things. Don't make it rocket science.
Clint is a professional trapper. He's trapped at my place and several of my friends' places, and we all give him an A rating. If you need a little help or maybe some assistance trapping, call Clint. He'll be glad to either help you trap or give you a training session. Everyone was glad that the rain finished about the time Clint ended his presentation. So we went outside, started talking about food plots.
This is 100% gravel right below here. Literally 100% gravel. In a couple of years, we're building soil that any ag farmer would be proud of. And we do that with our system. So my number one determinant for fall planting dates is never what's on a bag. That is never even in my mind. My number one determinant is making sure I have adequate soil moisture. Because without that, seeds may die before they germinate. Second thing is, I want to be 60 to 45 days before the first expected frost. Soil moisture overrules timing, and if there's no moisture, I'm delaying planting, delaying planting, delaying planting. If I've got ground cover like this, and my soil's in really good shape, I'm saving moisture, right? So if you got that soil structure I showed you back there, literally 1% of organic matter will hold about an inch of rain per acre. So if you get a soil organic matter of, let's just facetiously pick 4, you can hold 4 inches of moisture. So if you get in a 2-month drought, and you normally would get 2 inches of rain a month during that time, your crops never know you're in a drought. The crimper is my buffalo. So remember how the Great Prairie was built? Buffalo would come through and trample everything down, and you're in that defecate. I haven't got my crimper to defecate yet, but I'm working on a model for that, okay? No, I want to lay this down as mulch. Standing up, sun can go through here, and weeds can grow. I want to lay it over and break that system every 8 inches or so. If I do it now and it's not in the pollen stage, it will grow back, I promise you. If we ran the crimper through here as a demonstration, 2 days later it'll all be standing right back up. Plants are weaker when they're making pollen. So that's why we crimp at that time of year. But we strongly prefer planting through the standing crop. It's called planting green. The ag guys call it planting green. And then about 3 weeks later, this is painful, when my beans get about 4 inches tall. I know. You drive the tractor and the crimper right over it. And you're going, oh! Because I did. But they're young and pliable. And they're staying right back up.
Even your tractor wheels don't kill them?
Nope.
No.
I wouldn't wait till they're 8 inches tall.
Yeah.
But about the second set of leaves is about the perfect time. There's a huge amount of clover out in here, and of course this is the buffalo blend. And what I want you to notice, a real advantage of having blends in the fall is that in some areas, some of the plants will do better than others. Notice if you can see in there, the clover is doing much better right here than it was over there. Different soil types, slightly different aspects of the sun, different dryness, whatever. And if you've got one monoculture in the fall, it might not do too good. The summer's more forgiving.
The diversity of his mix, he's dead on about that. We don't want to just plant one crop because you know, they have different tastes during the year, during the winter. We want to give the deer the opportunity to munch on what he's feeling like that day. And if your neighbor's got clover and you've got wheat and they're on his clover plot, you're going to notice. And you're going to say, man, I should have, you know, planted what he planted. So diversity is always a good thing. So we've got clover. The great thing about clover, it's a legume. It'll fix nitrogen. If you introduce the bacteria, the rhizobia bacteria, it attaches to the roots. You know, our atmospheric the air we breathe in is 78-79% nitrogen, and they're just amazing that they can pull it out and transform that to usable in the nodule, on the root. If you ever want to check to see if you've got good healthy rhizobium, just slice a nodule in half and it should be pink in color from the leg hemoglobin that's in there. It's a closed system, so it has to be, if it's effectively working, it's closed, and then it will actually provide nitrogen later as it decays. But you gotta have moisture, we gotta have oxygen, you know, good seed to soil contact. Don't get out there when it's too wet. You'll compound your soil and have poor results there. Don't put it too deep. A lot of people, one of the problems with disking in is that they get them too deep. Or you end up with some seed on top of the ground, and the birds love that, you know, opportunity. So we try to go as natural as possible. That's why we don't use a lot of seed treatments, because we do have animals out here eating the crops. In some cases, we're violating federal labels.
We then loaded up and rode down the mountain, crossed a rising creek, got out of the truck, and listened to my good friend, Richard Hale. Richard's one of the best hunters I know, and he took time to share some of his observations and hunting techniques he's developed from a life spent in the deer woods.
So I just want to share some general thoughts with you first. The most significant obstacle to learning can often be what we think we know. And how many times have you learned something about deer behavior, and then when you go out, you start noticing it? Well, you were seeing it all along, but you thought you knew something else. Another thing that I see that really limits people's success is they're fixed into anything. They have these parameters that limit what they can achieve. Don't just limit yourself to one weapon or one season or 1 week or one piece of property. I mean, you can do that, and it's okay if that's what you enjoy, but it limits what you're going to accomplish. I think deer are really simple. I think that's why I understand them. I'm simple. They're simple. They don't do very much. They eat, they sleep, they try not to get shot, they try to procreate. It's the whole show. They don't do anything else. If you put yourself between the deer and where it wants to be and get the wind right and stay a day or two, it's going to show up. If it didn't, it's not that it's elusive. It was just somewhere else. It really is that simple.
Even though Richard and I have been friends for years, and I've listened to him give presentations before, I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else did based on the comments they shared with me. Unfortunately, the rain started moving back in. That never stops a true turkey hunter, and that's exactly what the boys are from Hook's Custom Calls. Even with the rain, they gave us a great demonstration of the sounds of an early morning in the turkey woods. I enjoyed it, so did everyone else, and they hung around later to give demonstrations and help to those that wanted it. A warm barbecue lunch provided by Redneck Blinds was a welcome sight and smell when we returned to the shop. After lunch, everyone decided being in a warm and dry shop wasn't a bad location, and really it was a perfect place for Daniel to share his techniques for using Montana decoys.
What I really like about these decoys is you'll notice they're not just flat, they've got little cuts in the material. It almost looks like feathers. They get going in that wind, it just kind of rustles. And you look up close and you're like, yeah, that's a decoy, but when you set them out there in the field, and the sun kind of hits them and the wind's blowing across that, they look pretty good. So you can pass that one around and look. So scouting is really important. Getting out, listening to birds, getting where you can observe birds out in the field, where the strut zones are, how they're reacting with jakes, hens, toms, trail cameras. Getting a lot of information for turkeys. We use trail cameras for turkeys just like we do deer. And it's amazing. You can get a turkey on a pattern. They're walking this old logging road every day. And I know he's roosted up there on the hill. Kind of like what Richard's talking about the deer. He's almost imagining where that deer is bedded. And when he gets up, he's stretching, where he's going to go and what he wants to do. And you can do the same thing with turkeys. So we do that with our trail cameras.
Daniel pays a lot of attention to the stage of the turkey breeding season and changes his decoy setup based on that information. Pairing these decoy strategies with the turkey calling techniques by the Hooks boys, well, we all felt confident we'd be tagging a tom soon. After Daniel, Gene Price shared some information about trophy rock and specifically plot rock. That's what we use to add lots of natural minerals to our food plot.
There's different things added to this. I mean, yeah, it does have our Redmond minerals. You know, our mother company is Redmond Minerals. So, yeah, it does have our salt. It has our clays in it. It has some other things in it. So, it's a blend that we've used. So this is just a supplement, a mineral supplement to help your soil and to be taken up with the plant and transferred to the deer.
Plot rock is spread something like fertilizer and puts more than 60 trace minerals throughout the plot so plants can readily take them up and make them available for deer and other wildlife to consume. The appropriate trace minerals make plants healthier and more palatable for deer and other critters. The last 2 years, we've had success hunting over plots that have been treated with plot rock. Even though the weather and the rising creeks weren't favorable for touring the proving grounds, it was a great day. And that evening, we all headed out to the College of the Ozarks for a banquet. Eagle Seed sponsored the banquet, and the meal and service were excellent. After the meal, Brad shared some great information about 4-H soybeans.
Eagle Seed soybeans, why are they different? How are they different? One thing we get to develop them, my wife being a soybean breeder, we have a nursery of genetics that we have from a collection that our father has built through the years. The first thing you see is leaf size. So we go out and we select for leaf size. We don't need a large leaf to make an agricultural soybean. We actually probably want the smallest leaf and the smallest plant that's easiest to harvest and keeps us, gets us out of the field quickly. But, bigger leaves obviously are going to capture more sunlight, more carbon. They leave more biomass behind. So that's another bonus of planting a forage type is you have excess vegetation leading to the same grain yield. Part of what we do also is measure through the use of trail cameras, digital photography, is measure how fast the canopy or the leaf covers the ground. So that's pretty important when you're trying to shade out weeds. And maximize light interceptions. These are light interceptors from the sun, photosynthesis, the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen that was mentioned earlier today. They need to be as efficient as possible, and so we've got different varieties that have different leaf canopy. There's different planting methods, whether you use a drill or you use a wide row planter. It's probably not great when you're putting soybeans on 40-inch rows. You're missing out a lot on there. So these are some of the studies that we do in Northeast Arkansas. These stripes are actually 20-foot long replicated plots that are 5 feet wide. We have a special drill that allows us to plant on the go, and we can look at thousands of varieties side by side, planting it on the same day. So we're almost 10,000 plots a year we look at on a side-by-side basis like that.
Each year, I like to take time to acknowledge Growing Deer's fabulous pro staff. They're not only great hunters, but incredible people, and I'm proud to be friends with each of them. And we've just been blessed. Every year has been better than the previous year. That's a tremendous track record for any business. And we've just really been blessed. And everyone knows I'm an overt Christian, so when I say blessed, I mean really blessed. And again, a big part of that is our pro staff. So Daniel, will you come up here and help me, please? And Graham, would you come up, please? So in Kentucky, you're allowed 1 buck a year, no matter what weapon. And Graham really wanted to tag a good buck with his bow, so in gun season, while his 2 compadres were taking a big boom route, Graham stuck with his prime and tagged a great buck. Congratulations, Graham. That was a great hunt. I enjoyed watching it. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the team. So to start the family off, Ryland put some venison down. Dad here kind of helped him guide a little bit. And then Mama puts a hitless buck down. Dad guiding and filming at the same time a little bit. That was a precious episode there. And then Christmas afternoon, he says, heck, I'm going to slide out. And he puts a buck down. So congratulations, man. What a super season you had. Congratulations, man. So we let you all tell us who should be producer of the year. And again this year, it's Heath and Lindsay Martin. Thank you all so much. Congratulations. At the end of the banquet, we gave away some great prizes from many of our partners.
All right, Daniel, what are we going for first, buddy?
Go blue bag.
Go blue bag. Nothing we're giving away is something we don't use. You might say it's going to your test or whatever. I'm just reading the last 3. We're going to go quick. 664.
Motorola headlamp.
Scent Crusher Ozone Go.
601.
G5 Striker. 2 Duke Dog Proofs. A Hooks Call shirt.
I gotta tell you, even with the weather, it was a great event. I made new friends, visited with some old ones, and learned some techniques that will make me a better land manager and hunter. The calendar says it's spring, but spring weather has yet to arrive here at the Proving Grounds. I'm confident it's coming soon. If you'd like to learn more about our food plot and turkey hunting techniques, please subscribe to the Growing Deer channel. Whether you're with a group or walking by yourself, I hope you take time to get outside and enjoy creation. But most importantly, take time every day to be quiet and listen to what the Creator is saying to you. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.
Stay right there, just a second.
I can't hold it.
Okay. All right. Okay, now go back. All right, do it.
My theory is that